So I'm going to give a quick review of Deltastream Energy. What I've done is, if I was a salesperson and I was looking at different areas for prospective customers, I've come in and I said, let's look at the Wainwright area, and I can see Deltastream Energy is showing up on wells drilled, well licenses, wells drilled the last few years. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Let's actually go to the account. When I go into the account for Deltastream Energy, what we see here is that no ticker symbol, so I know they're a private company right away. We can take a look in the last 3 years. They've drilled over 20 wells, some of them crude oil, some of them crude bitumen. And then when we take a look at what their trends are now, here's 120 days well licenses. They're kind of leaning to the Wainwright crude oil side of things. So it gives me a bit of an indicator. I want to know a little bit more about the company, so I can come down to some of my links. And maybe the first thing I'm going to do is do a quick Google search and find out. And then I see right away that Deltastream Energy, private startup exploration company, recently closed $100 million. So I can open that up. In this particular market, finding somebody that's looking for or has capital is pretty important. So we got a company here with $100 million. And a nice thing in this article, it gives me some information related to the executive staff associated with the company. Come down to my CRM, and then here's a list of all the different people that I want to take a look at. And then I'll go in and I'll start drilling down on the different people, seeing if there's some insight on the individuals that can help me understand a little bit more about the account. So I can see Roger's on LinkedIn, which is great. And but when I take a look at it, not a tremendous amount of background. If I go to see all experiences, not really telling me a tremendous amount. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Pacific Energy Management Consultant, White Tiger Exploration. So I can now go back and take a look at all this stuff and understand what his background is and where his expertise lies on that side of it. Because I did see in that ARC financial report that they're using some unique technique to recover oil more cost effectively in those areas. So I do my full research related to it, and I can look at the different individuals related to Deltastream. Quite often I like to use a mapping as a reference, so I could see the two key areas, and essentially this would be what they consider the Wainwright area, and up here is the Bonnyville area. And we take a look at it and we can see it's pretty much a 50-50 split between the two. Might be looking for some different keywords associated with this particular account. Come in here and say, well, what terminating zones are they going into? And I could break it down a little bit more detail. But we could see here that they're going into the Sparky and Lloydminster terminating zones. I can see what fields are the most common. So they're doing a lot of limber stuff, which I know is CNRL, and they've got a lot of Wildmere on that side of it. I might want to look a little bit more detail on who they use from a drilling perspective and what are some of the characteristics. So when I click on the drilling rig locator, we can come down here and we can see that here are the wells that they've been doing, and mostly with Savannah drilling. And the interesting thing, when we take a look at kind of the well frequency, you can see this one was spud on 10/13, 10/19, 10/24, so taking about 5 days per well. Be interesting to see how that compares against some of the industry standards as it associates with those particular areas that they're drilling in. One of the things that's important when you're doing an analysis of a company, we want to look at the comparables. So the first area that I've looked at is the Wainwright area here, and I've put a geolocation around it, and we've come down and we say, okay, who else is in this particular area? So you can see that Gear Energy is pretty prevalent. Deltastream and Devon are kind of the three big players. And when I look at this account, it's a private account. We went in, we did some Google searches, we couldn't find a lot of information about them, but we know that Gear Energy, I believe, is a public company. Went in and did some research on the Gear Energy, and here's some pretty good insightful information on this particular area. Roughly what their drilling curves are, what their production rates are, some of the technology that they're using to extract. So as I get ready to make my calls for this particular account, I've got a tremendous amount of information that I can talk to about that area, because I know that this is Gear Energy. Then the other thing, I can go down here and take a look at the Gear Energy Management team and see who's there, and then I can make a decision. Do I know some people that are at Gear Energy that I can also take a look at? And one thing here that's pretty interesting is, you've got Gear Energy, we've got somebody VP of Operations, we've got the ARC tie-in on that side of it, and again, the president up here, ARC Energy Trust. So you're going to have some, I know financials a little bit different, but you could start to see the association with that and the interest with that particular area. The other area that we're going to look at is essentially what they call the Bonnyville area, which is kind of that Lindbar area, and then I'll set that up, really do the same thing, and start analyzing this particular area. First thing, we're going to come in and see who's been actually drilling in that area. So of course, Canadian Natural seems to be the dominant player on that side of it. If I'm selling engineering services, or I want to know a little bit more about that, I might look at the facilities in this area and do a little bit of comparable. So the types of facilities, Canadian Natural's put 11 facilities in over the time frame that I'm looking at, and all of them are bitumen batteries. And we take a look here at, they've done about 21 wells. So you could kind of get an idea, if Deltastream continues to drill in this area, what type of tanks they're going to need, what type of engineering they're going to need from a facility perspective. And I'll also take a look at what are some of the major facilities in the area, and I can see here the owners of the major facilities, and then the list of the names. So we've got some gas batteries, we've got compressor station, those types of things. So we start to understand a little bit about the infrastructure in this area here. So when you take a look at, again, just a quick summary of Deltastream, you've got a company that has been, we've got a company that operates in the Wainwright and the Bonnyville area. They've been funded by $100 million worth of finance. They've got a pretty active and experienced management team to allow them to execute their plan. Savannah Drilling's doing the majority of the drilling for them in that particular area. Wells are taking about 5 days to drill. When we take a look down at the Wainwright area for them, a good comparable is Gear Energy. So if you're going to call them and talk to them about this area, it's probably worthwhile doing a lot of research around the Gear Energy. Again, maybe taking a look at some of the facilities that are putting in that area. And then when we take a look at the essentially the Bonnyville area up here, we want to take a look at Canadian Natural Resources. Again, going into the search, going Lindbar Canadian Natural Resources, we get a tremendous amount of information about that particular area associated with the Canadian Natural Resources. So we can prepare ourselves, see the different types of technology that they're using. So when we talk about, hey, this is the what they're doing today, maybe they talk about their advanced technology. Defined plan, CNRL is talking about water flood in that particular area, and enhanced recovery, polymers, chemical injection solvents. So those are all things, when I take a look at Deltastream, they say that this is technology they want to use, and that's why they get funded. Maybe they have some advanced technology. If you'd like to learn more about this process, please give Poim a call at 403-472-5795.